So this week was kind of a big week. We covered a lot of material with the paver installation, and we also learned a lot of new tools and techniques in installing pavers. So even though we're not working on that paver installation anymore, at least for the time being, unless the weather clears up, we'll be learning through more of the classroom, through lecture, on how to install pavers, and also we will do a little plot up the hill. We'll just do a little plot, a practice plot of pavers, and to be able to practice like putting bedding sand down and the pavers down and things like that. But today I'm just gonna go over some of the tools we learned, and we learned quite a bit. So I guess let's just get into that. So the first tool we're gonna look at is a Paver Extractor, and it kind of looks like a scooter, but what it is, and you can see from this video, he's demonstrating, my professor is demonstrating, when pavers are already in place, and you need to, for whatever reason, pull out some of the pavers, this is a tool used. It's an adjustable blades pretty much on two sides, and you can pinch the paver and pick it up, because it's not like they're glued in to the ground. So this helps us if we have to fix a pipe underneath a paver path or driveway or whatever. We can pull up one of them and then kind of loosen up the rest of them to get what we need out, instead of taking all of them off and removing the edge restraint and things like that. So that's an important tool. The next tool that we're going to look at is called a Paver Adjuster, and this one is interesting because it pretty much is just a stick, and then it has a blade at the end, and a very thin blade, and that's used to get in between joints instead of getting a shovel in there where it will separate the joint more. This blade just finally gets in, and you're able to adjust it just a little, so that the paver can move a little to one side or the other, or if you need to do a little bit of spacing, that will help with that. So the next tool that we're going to look at looks like a rubber hammer, but it's actually, we call it a dead blow, and these are hammers specifically made for pavers. So when you need to adjust a paver over, you've already placed it in the bedding sand and you need to slide it over more, instead of picking it up and moving it or just straight sliding it, you can use this hammer on the side of it, and it's made to not hit as hard so that the paver won't crack and break or chip away. So these are used to adjust the pavers, which is really helpful when you just need to move it over a little, but you can't for whatever reason. This is another hammer that you use when, let's say you cut a paver, and in order to fit into a joint, but the texture of the paver is rough and rigid, but the cut is going to be clean. So this is kind of like a pulverizer or whatnot to kind of roughen up the edge of a paver that is supposed to be rough. So it pretty much serves no other purpose other than adding texture to the paver to match with the rest of the pavers, which is very nice. This is a triangle or a square. Well, it's a tool, and they come in a variety of sizes. It pretty much helps us measure corners and distances between pavers, and it's just a mathematical tool used to help install pavers and get nice corners and nice edges and good distances. Now these tools are quick draw tools, and this helps us mark pavers that need to be cut. So you run it along a line, either the edge restraint or if the pavers are hanging over the edge restraint and they need to be cut, you can get the marker and you can run it along, and that it marks all the pavers that need to be cut, so it's easier than doing one at a time by hand. And so that helps with knowing which pavers to cut and how to cut them and where. So it's hard to place pavers against walls and curbs and things like that, because you don't, when you need to cut a paver, you can't see how far you need to go out. So this tool helps measure exactly how much of the paver you need to cut in order to fit into the along the edge, along a wall where you can't reach otherwise. This is a wedgie maker, and it's kind of a funny name, but it's used, and they come in different sizes as well, depending on the pavers, but they help measure how to make wedges. So if you're laying a paver path and you need a curve, obviously the pavers are square, so you need to cut them at angles in order to get a full circle, or half a circle or an arc. And this helps with measuring the where to cut the paver in order to get the right angle of the arc, which is nice. This tool is a chisel, essentially. If you need to crack a paver or weaken it enough to break it, then you can put it on the paver, and then that top part is an engineering control to help prevent you from hitting your fingers, and you essentially use just a hammer or anything like that to chisel away at the pavers, which can come in handy if you need to get a really rough edge on a paver or crack a paver. These last two tools they're pretty much paver markers, as it says there, and they're used to draw on pavers. So if you need to mark a paver for whatever reason, mark the order that it goes in, or you need to mark where to cut, these tools are both used. The chalk one is more soapstone, and the second one is actually I don't know what it's made of, but as you can see, you can print advertisements on it, which is nice. So these are just some of the tools we learned today, and we'll be using these as we practice on the little plots up on the hill that we'll be working on, and you'll see that later this week. So thanks for watching.